Great days, great days.
Do you?
Here we go.
I remember hearing you telling stories about being like trying to get into a nightclub. There was like a time you tried to get into a nightclub, and then another time on holiday, just being embarrassed. And it seemed reminiscent of that. A lot of scenes from Hello Ladies. Did you ever have an incident similar to that scene in Hello Ladies at the nightclub where you fell through the table? Anything that?
Not falling through the table, although of course, the Sarah Silverman party, I did something worse.
Would you? I don't.
Did you know that
I was there? Glass window.
Shut up.
Yeah. Thanks for ruining the punchline.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you really?
That was going to be quite the anecdote, but never mind.
You could stretch that thing out.
Yeah, we could have worked that into quite the routine.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You seem.
Some stuff happened. I walked through a window.
There was
Anyway,
a book that I read when I was young that was called How to Be Funny.
Yeah, I should have that.
By Steve Allen.
Oh, okay.
And so the entire book was like Steve Allen talking about how he was at a party one time, and he told this story, and then he would explain why that was so fucking funny. And it was all just him being funny. So then one time he talked about he was at a roast, and he said he went up there and he did a string of jokes. And then he painstakingly explained why they were funny. And, he said, it's the opposite of what I said earlier. So then he said his wife, he had a god-awful fucking shrew of a wife that was sisters to Jane Meadows, the great the great Audrey Meadows, who was on the Honeymooners. And this woman's name was Jane Meadows. And she was famous as Steve Allen's wife. So she gets up there dressed like Marie Antoinette in the story that Steve Allen was telling, and does the roast. And then he explains why that's funny. And he's like, well, that's different than me because it's a character. So you have to understand when she goes, how are you enjoying the cake? Well, Marie Antoinette once said this fucking famous thing. You're like, God damn. So then he has a chapter, How Not to Be Funny. No, this was the chapter called How Not to Be Funny. And she said, he was real funny, his wife was real funny. And then the next person on the dais was Richard Pryor. And he was not funny. And he said, Richard Pryor got up on stage, looked at Jane Meadows, and said, I think she farted. So it's the only funny thing in the whole book. How to be funny by that guy. You were in a play, little birdie told me.
Little birdie?
Yeah, a play called The Mentalist.
That's right, yeah.
What, you know what a mentalist is in real life?
It's someone who can sort of do psychic trickery, right?
Yes.
Well, no, yes, this wasn't about that.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, this was about two guys in a hotel room, one of whom has decided he is going to sort of start an alternative society.
Wow.
And it was a sort of kind of darkly comic, Pinter-esque two-hander.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if it was Pinterest, it meant there was a lot of dialogue for you to chew on.
A lot of talking, yeah. It took me forever. It took me 3.5 months to learn it.
I bet that'd be hard.
It's brutal.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And does the fear ever go away that it's all going to be lost?
No, and never want to do it again.
Yeah, no.
Never going to do a play again. Pointless. Doing the same thing every night. It was interminable.
Oh.
I used to resent that the audience had showed up. If you weren't here, we wouldn't have to do this. I was angry. And then, of course, people would make noises or, like, during a matinee, fall asleep or fart. And you couldn't comment on it because you weren't allowed to break the rules. So, you...
How long was the run?
No, I heard
Too long.
Tony Randall tell this story once. He was doing something on Broadway, and a guy in the front row.
While he was on stage. Yeah. It was interminable. And then you'd have things like there was a moment right at the end of the play where you heard a police siren, and that was a very significant part of the play because it meant that the police were coming for my character. Spoiler. Yeah. And but of course, because it was an old Victorian theatre, you'd just hear real life police sirens all the way through the play.
Yeah.
But again, you couldn't.
Hilarious.
I should have been able to comment on it, right? And because my character should be fearful of that, but couldn't. It wouldn't be allowed. So it was just infuriating. Particularly if you've ever done stand-up.
Were you surprised by Brexit?
I was surprised by Brexit.
You
Thank
were,
you for asking, yes.
I wasn't surprised.
You saw it coming?
Well, here's the thing.
Well, you seem to know a lot about England.
No, I'd never
and
heard.
The Welsh.
I'd never heard of Brexit. That was my.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
Do you know, it took me a long time to understand what it stood for. Do you know?
Yeah, I know. I don't
whisper
remember.
to you. I'll whisper it.
Good God.
I'm whispering.
No, all right, I'm listening. I'm trying to listen. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it was.
Tell him what it stands for.
I don't think that's what. Oh, he says British Exit.
I think that's
Is that
right.
it? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Didn't have to take that long.
I'm glad I've done this show. No, I'm glad to be here. Because
thank you. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're I mean, wow, you'd be like the top 3 guests probably.
I would agree. Well,
top 3 guests.
We used to quote The Office like constantly, and actually, like, we love it.
I'm one of these guys that refuse to watch the American Office.
Right.
I watched the pilot, and here's where I found the distinct difference. In the pilot of the British Office, they ask the documentary maker asks David Brent. About comedy, and he goes, you know, if I couldn't name 3. If you asked me 3 geniuses, you know, I wouldn't say Newton, Einstein, yeah. I'd say Milligan, Cleese, the Sessions. So, anyways, he picked great comics. Then I see the American one. He said Bob Hope. That's what Steve Carell said.
Right.
I like Bob Hope. I'm like, ugh.
Sure.
Why would you like Bob Hope? It's so much more interesting that a guy with no sense of humor loves good comedy.
Right.
Because that's what I heard in high school all the time. People would just play Monty Python all the time, you know, just recite it, and just witless idiots.
Although I would contend that Bob Hope was a good comedian.
Well, he's my favorite comic, but most people... That's funny you would say that, because I thought only I liked him.
He actually does love him.
I love him.
He actually does love him.
In fact, you know what? I found out only recently that he spent some time in my hometown of Bristol, grew up when he was about 3 or something, before he came to America, in a house not far from where I grew up. And when I found that out, I was blown away. I was just,
I heard a story.
What a thrill. I was so excited.
I heard a story. Mark. Oh, never mind. No, I don't want to. It's
Did you meet him?
No, I saw him on Barbara Walters was interviewing. He's not a guy that, you know, has his heart on his sleeve. You know what I mean? And she said, I read that when you were young, you were, you know, a 2-story flat, and you know, you were 10 children, 3 of them died, and you had to go play the old hall, you know, just to survive. You know, and he said, isn't that wild? And then she said, you've been married 50 years. Like, how do you and Dolores keep the marriage going? He goes, I play golf. We have the dogs. But I like that he was only about comedy. That's what I like about Bob Hope. And also, you can't name a joke of Bob Hope's because he didn't have any. Like, he would just use bad jokes.
Right.
But he was brilliant.
I liked his film persona, I think, more than his stand-up persona.
People forget how great a physical comic.
Well, and also you can clearly see how much Woody Allen stole from him in terms of the persona, the nervousness, the kind of the would-be womanizer being shot down, in which I tried to steal shamelessly as well.
He just stole it, and then he thought, well, if I say I stole it, that's all right.
Right. Yeah.
I read that Milton Berle, when I was a kid, Milton Berle, when I was going, I'm a thief, you know. He goes, I sit at the back of the club. I like that kid. My hand hurts from writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they do these jokes. So naturally, you thought he wasn't a thief. Then it turned out he was.
He was. Right.
So there was this persona. So other comics must have gone, that motherfucker. Like, his persona is a thief.
Did you ever meet one of your comedy heroes and just were devastatingly disappointed?
Well,
that's not a loaded question.
The time I met Matlock, I have one story.
Yeah.
I met Matlock in a bookstore in L.A., and he was reading a big, heavy book, you know. So I tried to get up close. Do you know who Matlock is? He used to be Andy Griffith.
He played Matlock. That wasn't his real name,
Ben
right?
Matlock,
Yeah.
White suits, lawyer. He's a big lawyer. So he's reading a book, you know, so I don't like books.
No.
They make me sleepy. But
You surprised me.
I got close to him, and I pick up a book, you know, because I want him to notice. And I don't know what to say, so I go, holy fuck, I didn't see that shit coming, something like that, right? And then he turns to me, and I was younger, and he said, it's nice to see a young man who likes literature. And I go, I like literature, I like TV, I like lawyers, you know, I like whites. And then my throat got dry, and my whole being felt like I was somewhere else. I never felt such a feeling. It was not him. Didn't even look like him. And you know what?
Yeah.
Stephen, I'll say this. Not a day goes by, I don't think about that fucking old man, how much I hate his fucking guts.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Well, thanks for coming. I don't think we can use that one on the show tonight.
You'd be surprised.
Subscribe to Burger King.